It was the summer of 2016, and like every year, my parents had gone on holiday for a couple of weeks. I stayed behind to take care of the house, our garden, and the four big dogs that had become my little guardians. Normally, I felt safe here. The neighborhood was still new, and most of our neighbors were my dad's friends, a comforting presence. But I'd always been a bit wary, especially after a few past experiences of being followed home. And with the forest surrounding the area, I knew junkies sometimes wandered too close for comfort. The first few days passed uneventfully. I heard the usual thuds in the garden, Martin, our neighbor's kid, messing with my mom's flowers, and even the dogs ignored it. But the sense of normalcy was about to shatter. By the third day, I had errands to run, and because I had been busy all day, I waited until evening. Darkness was creeping across the forest paths as I walked back from the shops, my phone in hand. That's when I noticed him, a man who had been sitting on a bench suddenly standing and following me. At first, I thought maybe he was a neighbor heading the same way, but as we reached the houses, I realized he didn't belong here. My heart began to race. Luckily, my neighbor, who lived next to my house, was outside watering his plants. He noticed my distress, spoke to me briefly, and the moment the man saw him, he bolted back into the forest. I called my parents to explain what happened. They reassured me, reminding me that I was safe at home with the dogs and that the neighborhood was secure. I tried to calm down and continue as usual. When my parents were away, I always slept in their bedroom downstairs. It kept the dogs from climbing the stairs in the dark and potentially hurting themselves. That night, I lay in bed reading while the dogs curled around the floor. Their calm presence a small comfort. Then I heard it, a faint thud against the window in the room next to mine. My heart skipped. At first, I thought it was Martin again, but the dogs growled, alert and tense. A few seconds later, a louder thud came, this time on my bedroom window. Panic gripped me. Then the third thud, louder, still rang out across the house, each window rattling under the weight of deliberate blows. Tears filled my eyes as I realized someone was trying to break in. I didn't know what to do. I moved to the center of the house, glancing at the main door, and saw him, a dark figure peeking inside, hammering on the small window with every ounce of force. I ducked under a table, phone in hand, trying to stay out of sight. I called my dad. No answer. I tried again. Still nothing. Finally, my mom picked up, confused and alarmed. Through the phone, she could hear the banging, too. My dad sprang into action, calling everyone he could, neighbors, family, anyone who might help. Within minutes, my neighbor, the one who had seen me earlier, arrived first and scared the intruder toward the back garden. But I couldn't open the door yet. 10 minutes later, my uncle, aunt, and grandma arrived. My uncle had a key and quickly opened the door, letting the dogs rush out to chase the man. The backyard became a frenzy of flashlights, barking and search as the intruder tried to escape. I'll never forget the way my aunt and grandma came to me, comforting me as I clung to a chair, crying. The man eventually fled through the neighbor's garden, leaving behind a damaged window and our main door cracked glass, loose hinges a haunting reminder of how close it had come. That night I learned that no matter how safe a place seems, danger can appear when you least expect it. And I will never forget the sound of my dogs racing across the garden, fierce and protective, saving me from what could have been something far worse. Like and subscribe before you think you're ever truly safe at home. The latter half of 2017 had been exhausting emotionally and physically. The biggest challenge was moving my father into an aged care facility. His health had been declining rapidly, and though it was a hard decision, he needed care that I couldn't provide on my own. I now lived in Brisbane, over 1,500 miles from my childhood home in Tasmania. Visiting him regularly meant flying back and forth, each trip exhausting. I had been making these flights about twice a month, staying in his old, damp, creaking house while preparing it for sale. Most of his furniture and belongings had been moved out, except for a pile of blankets and pillows. I used to make a makeshift bed on the floor whenever I stayed overnight. The house sat in a semi-rural area, surrounded by overgrown trees and bush, old and insecure. No electricity, no alarm system, and doors that could be forced open with a strong nudge. It wasn't exactly comforting. On Christmas Eve, I flew in during the evening, picked up a rental car, and stopped by a friend's house near my father's place. After a few drinks and sharing stories about the year, I realized I probably shouldn't drive home myself. My friend's wife kindly offered to drive me, and even promised to pick me up the next morning to get my car. I arrived at my father's house around midnight. It was completely dark inside. Tipsy and tired, I tried the light switches, nothing. Using my phone as a flashlight, I surveyed the rooms and noticed some tools I'd left around were missing. I suspected local kids had taken advantage of the empty house. At least the big toolbox, locked and heavy, was untouched, though its padlock was scratched and dented as if someone had tried to force it open. Exhausted, I made a bed on the floor with the blankets and pillows, but sleep didn't come easily. The house was quiet except for the wind rustling through the trees outside, and the constant ringing in my ears. Then I heard it, the crunch of boots on the gravel driveway. My heart raced. A loud bang followed, something hitting the metal railing leading to the back door. My mind raced. Wallaby? Possum? I froze. Moments later, a pop and squeak announced the back door being pushed open. Footsteps creaked through the house. From the far end of the hallway, I heard the laundry cupboard open in faint whispering. My hand shook as I pulled out my phone and called the police, whispering under a pillow to muffle my voice. The dispatcher assured me help was on the way. Then came a chinking sound, someone tampering with the toolbox. Following the dispatcher's advice, I carefully moved to the bedroom door to lock it. Every creak of the floorboard made my stomach twist, but it worked in my favor. The intruders fled through the back door, probably frightened by the noise. I locked the bedroom door, informed the dispatcher, and stayed put. Within 5 minutes, the police arrived, searching the area but finding nothing. One officer noted that the intruders had tried to break the toolbox earlier but failed. My tools had already been partially stolen, but the timing had saved the most valuable items. The police theorized that the intruders had returned after I arrived, hoping to finish what they couldn't before. I wasn't scared for my life. They were likely just kids, but the thought of what could have happened weighed heavily on me. After sunrise, I finally got a couple of hours of sleep before Lucy, my friend's wife, picked me up to retrieve my car. I left my tools with them for safekeeping. Later, I went to my father's care home and enjoyed Christmas lunch with him and his new friends. The next day, I went to a hardware store and bought stronger door locks. With them installed, the house finally felt secure. That Christmas Eve had reminded me, sometimes, luck and timing are all that stand between a normal night and a terrifying encounter. Like and subscribe before you think your home is ever truly safe.